Hello, this is Maniacal Cackle with another pre-game analysis of one of my games. And real quick, a special shout out to Falco, who helps me correct some sound issues with my videos. If you still are finding any sound issues with the videos, please let me know because then I can continue to work and improve on it. But hopefully, the stuff he helped me with is going to make a big difference. So this time, we're doing the Founders Return of the Malifaux World Series, and for the first time ever in a competitive event, I will be playing Guild. So you're going to hear some of my thoughts on Guild and playing that. One thing to remember is I am not a Guild expert. That part of the reason I do these videos is that I am learning too. So feel free to give feedback and to disagree, because a lot of what I'm saying I'm not the expert on this faction or really any faction, to be honest. So um, this is definitely a learning as I go sort of a month for me. So I'm going to be playing. My opponent has declared Ophelia, and the pool is cursed objects, where basically the killing scheme or the void killing scheme or strategy. We've got breakthrough, assassinate, sabotage, catch and release, and load them up. So this pool, it's a very difficult pool to play because there's no points that you can easily score um, away from your opponent. So there's nothing really to encourage you to like run off to the corner and score whilst avoiding the fight or anything. You kind of have to do the fight. And when you've got a game like that, it kind of actually can end up having both players not wanting to be the first one to start the brawl. Um, and so what you end up with these sorts of games is sometimes both players want to sit in their deployment zone. And so one of the key things you got to come up with is how do you break that? So one of the options on this pool is you can, for instance, declare sabotage. And that's one of the things I'm thinking. I'm thinking of taking bottom left. And so legal sabotage targets, I think, include this building here. So what that would do is that would give me an option of I could just go camp somewhere and start scoring points and force him to come to me. One issue is that's not actually a big distance for him to travel to come down to me. So that's a challenging pool. But one of the tricks with these is if I'm playing to win the pool, if I want to win with one diff or more, have one more victory point than him or more, then I kind of need to come up with a plan to outscore him. But if I'm happy to play for the tie, and I think in this pool, Guild is going to be in the position of having to play for the tie a lot. This is not a pool that they can really play for the win unless their opponent lets them. Um, if I'm willing to play for the tie, then I can sit back and I can dirtle in my own deployment zone and say, okay, buddy, you got to come to me, or we're both ending the game on a 0-0 tie is an option. He does have some tricks around that. He can score load him up in his deployment zone, for instance. Um, but I think then I can just end the game on 1 point, and he can end the game on 1 point, and I think that would be fine. So it kind of forces him to come to me if I'm going to dirtle in my deployment zone if he's not happy with the tie, which I don't think he will be. Um, that said, that's not a very fun way to play, so I am still considering going for like the sneaky sabotage or the breakthrough or something. Especially, I have quite a mobile crew. I might sneak a last turn breakthrough or something. So I wanted to keep my options open, and so against Ophelia, she has an extremely big threat range, so that was one of the things concerning me. And I should note that I declared Nellie, um, and I think Nellie is really, really awesome on cursed objects. Uh, she's just so good because of that exclusive interview means that you can't give her tokens, and she is sorry, you can't give her tokens via the interact action, and she's very, very strong at these killy strategies because she is just such an excellent control master. I had one game where basically my entire opponent's crew was stunned, distracted, and slow the entire game, and he couldn't do anything. um, and it was just fabulous. So she's really, really good at these pools. But I'd like to play her on like a flank or a wedge, maybe even a standard deployment if I'm doing cursed objects. This is the first time I'm taking her into a corner cursed objects, and it feels real bad because she has to cross that board, and she's a move 5 model that doesn't really want to spend the entire game walking across the board. So it's not optimal. The optimal choice for this pool, I think, was Lucius. And I already played a month where I dominated with him, so I wasn't keen on playing him too much more. So let's go over uh, some of what I my picks. This is the list I ended up with: Melissa, Core, and Lone Marshall. These are the two run and gun models in the faction, and essentially what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to say, okay, I want to play a game where, at least to some degree, I have the option of forcing Ophelia's team to come to me. And if I'm going to do that, well, she outranges me, so eventually I'm going to have to go to her. Um, but that's why I bought run and gun models. Is effectively my Lone Marshal has like a uh, um, whoops, sorry, a threat range of about this big. And actually, that's for two shots. If we're talking for a single shot, it's even bigger. So the Lone Marshal can hit from this position, can shoot something in his deployment zone with its full range of attacks. Ophelia, on the other hand, is like an 18-inch range. So she's a little bit worse than me. So this means that he's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive than I am because I can afford to play the long range game a little bit better than he does. Um, there's some caveats there, but that's why I brought these run and gun models, is they give me that little bit of a range advantage that says, okay, you can't sit back and shoot because I can also hit you with the shots. And then on top of that, Lone Marshal is really good at the hit and run. He can charge forward, shoot his models off the table, and then run backwards. And then I'm up a point. And in cursed objects, you're really looking for opportunities to get up a point. Because if I get up a point, then he's chasing my Lone Marshal all over the table, and it's going to be difficult for him. So they really open up those options. Pale Rider, just generically good on corner for guild. You'll see him in a lot of games. I was not sure if I wanted him. The ride with me is really valuable here, but it's pretty good. His big AoE pulse absolutely devastates an Ophelia crew, but he is guaranteed to die if he does that big ol' AoE pulse. So I've got to be a little bit careful of that. One thing he really gives me the opportunity to do is a big ol' ranged injured on a model. And he has some ways around that. For instance, even just all his little weak models doing the assist action will get rid of that. And I think he has a condition removal too. Um, but it can put serious pressure on his team. For instance, if Ophelia wants to come forward and start shooting me, and I go, okay, you gain 6 injured and your defense 0, suddenly I have a lot of options for counterplay there. So this is my really elite shooting crew. I'm putting a lot of eggs into one basket, or 3 baskets here, but they're really really strong. And then backing that up, I've got Nellie's card draw. She's just phenomenal hand quality when I played her. It's just incredible the kinds of hands she produces. Um, Guild Lawyer, of course, he's really, really good support, and especially with Melissa and Lone Marshal, Guild Lawyer just does absolute wonders by providing that extra charge action via the obey action. So Guild Lawyer, I find, is really, really good with them. Guild Steward, again, hands out focus, which is what Melissa and Lone Marshal need. They're Guild Lawyer and Steward are some of the best support models in Guild, and that's because they have all these synergies. It's not just that they're good support models, which they are, but they have really, really potent synergies. And then Guild Lawyer, the shielded with Melissa's armor 2, and then yeah, they'll be taking all these charge focus attacks. It's very, very potent. And then they're also decent models in cursed objects because they have such big ranges. They can the Guild Lawyer can hang pretty far back, and the Guild Steward, if it dies, it can often kill a model in return. So that's also really, really good. So that's the crew I'm taking. So basically, I decided to take 3 shooting all stars, uh, a Guild Steward, a Guild Lawyer for the support, and then Nellie. Nellie's kind of a control piece, but I'm not sure how well she's going to be able to control this game. Um, but yeah, so that's my list, and that's why I built it. And so hopefully that gives some insights. I will go over all the other crews I considered because I think that gives a lot of insights as well. So for this basic kind of same core strategy, I considered a lot of other things. Um, Funnily enough, I considered Taggart Queeg over the Pale Rider because he makes Melissa and the Lone Marshal fast. Very, very potent. It gives me an incredible alpha strike. The problem I find with these fast alpha strikes is if they don't win you the game on the spot, you kind of run out of steam, and then it's like, oh, I have like a 9 stone Taggart Queeg not doing anything and contributing to the game. and all I got for it was really one extra attack out of Melissa and Lone Marshall over the course of the game. Like, that's not great value. And I know like people are really big on the fast model alpha strikes, but I'm pretty big on the like you need to continue having your value throughout the game unless your alpha strike is so strong it wins the game on the spot. Um, so yeah, I said no to Taggart Queeg. Fiona Gage, funnily enough, normally I don't hire Fiona with Nellie. I don't think she quite provides what I'm looking for. But in this matchup specifically, that yo-yo effect with the Lone Marshal I was talking about, where you can charge the Lone Marshal forward, get your shots off, and then Fiona uses Bring It on the Lone Marshal to pull it back to keep it safe, is an incredible play. It's so, so good. It's so, so effective. Except Ophelia has a built-in stagger on her attack, so I just thought, oh well, he's just going to stagger my Lone Marshal, and then I can't rescue it, and I'm fucked. So, and then Fiona would be in the back line doing nothing. So she because he's got that access to the stagger with Ophelia, she's just not right. Allison Dade is incredible. She is the reason I play Nellie, to be honest. The Nellie Allison combo, those two models together can lock down and tank an entire enemy team. They are so, so good. Her slow with the built in distracted in Nellie's fake news aura or slow news day aura just means that her attack is giving slow, stunned, and distracted. And that's just incredible, incredible value. It's essentially skipping an activation for a lot of models. On top of that, she's very tanky. She's got that exclusive interview aura, which is so potent in a lot of the stuff on this gaining grounds. Um, I think you'll be seeing a lot of Nelly One, Allison Dade this season. They're very very effective. So why didn't I bring her against Ophelia? It comes back down to that range issue. In order for Nelly and Allison Dade to be effective, they need to be within 8 inches of enemy models. And it's enough of a challenge to get my master Nelly with her 3 AP and with Ride Mithy, getting her across the board to the enemy. Trying to get Nelly and Allison across the board was a very, very difficult problem to solve, and I could do something like Guardian Toss actions or something, and it was doable, but it was not worth solving. Like the cost of solving that problem was too high. So I ended up cutting Allison, even though she was in my first 10 lists or so that I created. Agent 46 is a hilarious tech piece because he's got Mimic. He can take those guns, the really excellent guns, which makes a really big difference. And he's got Stealth, so he's actually kind of an awesome tech piece here. Um, but he just lacks that mobility where even if a 14-inch gun is not enough on this map by itself, you need the ability to have like a 14-inch gun and the ability to move around the board and take two shots. Like one 14-inch shot is not good enough, even if it's focused. I mean, it's pretty good. Um, it's going to one-shot some models in his crew, so it was worth considering, but didn't quite cross the line. And then, of course, once the enemy is within 6 inches of Agent 46, he just evaporates because he's not very difficult to kill. Gatling Gunner has another neat trick where it needs a Four of Tomes to produce a bit of an aura that he can't um, shoot my models within 3 inches. So you just toss a 3 inch bubble, and then bam, my crew's protected from shooting. There's two problems with this. First off, it means that I have to activate the Gatling gunner first, which is a huge cost. I'd rather be activating something that impacts the board in a really beneficial way. So I don't like that aspect of it. And second off, with that 3 inch aura, it would force my crew to cluster, and Ophelia is really, really, really good at doing blast damage. And I don't want my crew to cluster, because what if she goes first and deletes my entire crew or my Gatling gunner? Um, so it just didn't feel like the right call. Other things that seemed good for the pool, but not this matchup. Undercut of a reporter because catch and release is in the pool. Sometimes I would expect, like if I was playing against Marcus, I would probably take an undercover reporter, just teleport his Cerberus back to his deployment zone and kind of get a reset there. Um, but it's not really scoring me any points, which is a problem. Peacekeeper, I think Peacekeeper is phenomenal on this pool if you're doing that strategy of like, say, if I was in this deployment zone and taking sabotage on this tree over here, um, you could get Peacekeeper up here turn one because the printing press can move the Peacekeeper 8 inches. It's really phenomenal. Um, And so once, the Peacekeeper's up here, like, this territory is mine. He's got Trail of Gore, so, like, he's got that counterattack for the scheming. Like, it basically just says, I am scoring sabotage and there's nothing you can do about it, and I've got my Armor 2 chunker with hard to wound. He's just, what a model. The problem is, again, like, he can just sit back and rain death upon me, and then my Peacekeeper has to walk all the way to his deployment zone, which is not good. If I was in a melee matchup that didn't respect armor, Peacekeeper would be where I would be going. I think Peacekeeper just holding the line in this zone would be really potent, I think. He is defense 4, and I'm normally down on defense 4 models, so maybe I'm overrating him, but I think that'd have been cool for some matchups. Mounted Guard, because catch and release is in the pool, I considered Mounted Guard instead of Pale Rider. He's the best model in faction for scoring it because even if you kill him, he comes back as a 5 health mini model, which is cheap enough to score still. He's very mobile. He's very good at scoring the strat, but not the strat, scoring the scheme. But that was pretty much a 1-pointer, and in Cursed Objects, it means that he would give up 1 point when he dies as well. Just not worth it here, but do keep an eye out for Mounted Guards and Catch and Release. They're so good at it. And in fact, to some degree, there was an argument to take Dashel 2 into this pool simply because you can take a Mounted Guard with Soul Stones as your Catch and Release model, and then that Mounted Guard is going to probably live until the end of the game. Um, so that would be really, really powerful in this pool as well if people are looking at doing Dashel 2 with Mounted Guard. I think has a lot of potential. I'm not a good Dashel player, so that's why I didn't pick him. Currently, I'm only skilled in like 3 or 4 guild. So that's what I considered for the base Nellie. And over here I have my wonky combo list that I'll make a brief mention of just because they're interesting. Um, Nelly 2 can teleport August Hart across the board, and because he has exclusive interview, you cannot give him tokens by interacting with him. And so what she can do is she can launch him across the board, and then there's a trigger that he takes an action, so he takes the interact action to get rid of his token. And then he kills something, and bam, you're up on points, and they don't get any points back because killing him isn't worth anything. Which is a super sweet line, really, really good. The downside is you're kind of all in on it. You really have to stack him with Distracted. Uh, and also, what if the opponent gives him 2 tokens at the start of the game because they know what you're up to? If you give him 2 tokens, then he's got to take 2 interact actions and he needs to kill something. And he doesn't have enough AP for that. So then you're talking hiring maybe a Taggart Queeg or a Sanctioned Spellcaster to make him fast, and now you're really, really all in on the combo. And if something goes wrong, like you instantly lose the game, which just feels really bad. So I did, especially for me, who I'm not that good with Nelly 2. So I selected Nelly 1 this round. The other list that is hilarious is the Clockwork Trap Trained Raptor list. They're all insignificant. They cannot give up any points on cursed objects. And then what Nelly would have done is I would have taken like this side of the board. I would just run her around this rock all game. She's very, very difficult to kill. I had some other runaway plans, and I would have just gone for the 0-0 game and get a draw for the game, possibly more because actually I had some tricks to squeeze in a point here and there. Um, and so that's actually something you got to look out for on cursed objects. If the reason it doesn't work is because breakthrough and sabotage and load them up are in the pool. So like if I did that, he would just take sabotage on something and load him up on ski markers, and he would just use his Ophelia crew to just drop a ton of ski markers on my side of the board, and then he would win on schemes. And so yeah, it's a terrible plan. However, in this gating grounds, it is possible to have a scheme pool where that's not viable, and so watch out for those pools and make sure your opponent doesn't catch you out with the all insignificant lists. It's actually probably the biggest reason that cursed objects and similar kinds of strategies really just don't fully work as a strategy unless you have a really good scheme pool to go with it. Because like the fact that this 8 clockwork traps 3 trained raptors, so my opponent can't score any points, is not that's not a list that should be in the game, right? Like, that's not cool. But I mean, if in a competitive environment, if that's the best list, it's what I'm playing. So, um, I'm glad it didn't work out that way because that would have been not the coolest of games to have play. Instead, we're gonna have this crew over here with some really good back and forth. I think if I manage to snipe his pieces, he's gonna have to come chasing after me. If he manages to snipe my pieces, I'm gonna have to scramble to run after him. It's gonna be a very cat and mouse game, I think. Um, Although he does like to just rush across the board and shoot people in their face. And I don't actually know how resilient my crew is and how much I can withstand that gunfire, but I'm going to hope that I can. I think it's going to be okay. Um, so that's the thoughts. I hope that all made sense. Again, it's my first time in a competitive event with guilds, so I'm probably missing some real major things. But hopefully, when my the gameplay video comes out next week, this should help give some insight into why we're making the plays we are and what we're both trying to accomplish. Thanks for listening, and thanks for again for the encouragement as well to get back into doing these videos. I've had a lot of feedback that more of these videos would be good, so that's why I've started doing them again. This one was a little bit rambly because I'm a little bit rusty, so thanks for bearing with me. And again, thanks to Falco for helping me sort out the sound issues on these videos. I think it'll be a little bit noticeable here, but you can always adjust one voice. Next time in the actual game, we're going to have two voices, and hopefully you're going to see a really big difference. And funnily enough, the person that I'm playing is Reddick, the person who was in the Pandora Nexus matchup in the last video. And so now I'm going to play him again, and we can do a direct comparison of the voices. So hopefully that goes pretty well. And yeah, thanks for listening. Everyone, have a good day.